I scored 702 points in the college entrance examination. On the day the admission results were released, my whole family gathered around the computer, waiting for my acceptance letter from Tsinghua or Peking University. The moment the page refreshed, it wasn't Tsinghua, nor was it Peking University, but it was a junior college I had never even heard of. My dad was so angry he slapped me, and my mom fainted from crying in the living room. The homeroom teacher frowned and asked me, "Lin Zhaoxue, did you fill out your application form incorrectly yourself?" Everyone said it was my fault for filling out the form wrong, and that the system couldn't make a mistake. Only my best friend Gu Wanqing held me, crying harder than anyone else. "Zhaoxue, it's okay, even a junior college can upgrade to a bachelor's degree." In my past life, I was fooled by her act, left with no way to appeal, my family destroyed and my life ruined. But it wasn't until I swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills that I found an alert for a login from a different location in my email trash. It turns out that the person who changed my college application was never me from start to finish. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 3 days before the application deadline. This time, I personally filled in Tsinghua and Peking University, after making all the preparations, then, wait for her to come and steal. I scored 702 on the college entrance exam. On the day the admission results were released, my mom went out early to buy fish and pork ribs, and relatives started flooding the group chat from noon. "Let's wait tonight for Zhaoxue to get the notification from Tsinghua or Peking University." 702 points. The Lin family has really produced a top scorer. My dad pretended to stay calm, but in reality, he'd been pacing back and forth in the living room since the afternoon, urging me to refresh the page over and over. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the inquiry system finally opened. I entered my admission ticket number and ID card, then clicked to query. The line of text on the page was not Tsinghua University, nor was it Peking University. Instead, it was Linjiang Vocational and Technical College. My mind buzzed, and my entire body froze. The glass in my mother's hand fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Was there a mistake? Could there have been a mistake? She rushed over to grab the mouse, refreshing the page over a dozen times, but the result remained unchanged. It was still that vocational college. My dad's face darkened instantly as he stared at me and asked, "Did you fill out the wrong college application yourself?" "No," my voice cracked. "I applied to Tsinghua and Peking University." "You watched me submit it, then what is this?" He pointed at the screen, veins bulging on his forehead. "A score of 702 and you're going to a vocational college. Tell me what this is." My eyes welled up with tears. How would I know? I clearly applied for Tsinghua and Peking University. "Do you even have a brain?" My dad's voice grew louder, the veins on his forehead bulging. "You clearly applied for Tsinghua and Peking University. Could the system have changed it to a junior college on its own?" My mom was already crying, sitting on the floor with her face in her hands, sobbing and repeating, "It's impossible. This can't be happening." Just then, my phone started vibrating frantically. The class group exploded. "Did you find out about Zhaoxue? With a score of 702, it would be a shame if she didn't get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Quick, send a screenshot." Before I could respond, someone in the group had already sent a screenshot of my admission page. After 2 seconds of deathly silence, the group chat completely exploded. "Wait, what? Linjiang Vocational College? Could the system be wrong? 702 points and only getting into a junior college. How did this even happen? No way. Did a high score really backfire this badly?" Those words kept popping up one by one, stabbing into my eyes like knives. I hadn't even recovered when the doorbell rang. My dad opened the door with a dark expression, and our homeroom teacher, Zhou Lan, stood at the doorway, her demeanor much heavier than usual. "What's going on?" She must have also seen the screenshot in the group chat, because she didn't even properly change her shoes after entering, walking straight to the computer. The line of text on the screen was still glowing. She finished reading and immediately furrowed her brow. "Zhaoxue, think carefully again. Did you accidentally click the wrong option when submitting?" I stared at her blankly. "Teacher Zhou, even you think I filled it out incorrectly myself." "That's not what I meant." Her tone softened. "I mean, the system doesn't make mistakes for no reason. We need to figure out the problem first." Just then, Gu Wanqing also arrived. She was carrying some fruit, and as soon as she walked in, her eyes turned red, and she quickly hugged me. "Zhaoxue, how could this happen?" She held me tightly, her voice trembling as if she felt my pain more than anyone else. At that moment, I didn't doubt her at all, only gripping her sleeve desperately. "I didn't fill it out wrong, I really didn't." "I know," she said, crying while patting my back. "Don't be afraid, there must be a way." For the next few days, my parents, teacher, and I went back and forth between the school and the admissions office, but every time we got the same answer: the system record is normal, the application has been confirmed and submitted by the examinee, the electronic confirmation is valid. I said I applied to Tsinghua and Peking University, but no one believed me. My dad went to great lengths to pull strings for me, humbling himself to beg others, and broke his leg on the way back. My mom sat in the hospital corridor crying uncontrollably, her hair seemingly turning half white overnight, and I became the laughingstock of the entire county, mistakenly filled out college applications with 702 points and ended up in a junior college, high score, low ability. Gu Wanqing still accompanied me every day, going to the hospital with me, gently persuading me, Xiaoxue, stop torturing yourself, you can still upgrade from junior college to bachelor's degree. It wasn't until a month later that I found an email at the very bottom of my spam folder. Volunteer system remote login alert. When I opened the email and saw the login time, my blood ran cold. At 11:22 a.m. that day, I had never logged into the system at all, but my application choices were altered via another device on the day the scores were published, which was also the day I needed to submit my application choices. Only Gu Wanqing had access to my computer and phone. I finally understood, but it was already too late. My student status was locked, the registration deadline for repeating grades had passed. My dad was bedridden and couldn't walk, and when my mom looked at me, all she saw was despair. That night, I swallowed an entire bottle of sleeping pills. When I opened my eyes again, the cicadas outside the window were screeching. I gasped for air, my whole body drenched in cold sweat, as if I had just been pulled out of water. On the desk lay a draft of my college application form, with a pen still resting on top of it. I froze for a few seconds, then suddenly grabbed my phone. June 27 th. There were only 3 days left until the college application deadline. I stared intently at that string of dates, my hands trembling so much I could barely hold the phone steady. Not the day the admission results came out, not after my dad broke his leg, not before I swallowed the pills, but earlier. It's still early, and there's time for everything. Xiaoxue, come out and have some watermelon. Outside the door, my mother's voice was as clear and bright as if nothing had ever happened. My nose stung, and I nearly burst into tears on the spot. This was before my dad broke his leg, before my mom cried herself hoarse, before our family was crushed by a junior college admission letter. I really came back. I pinched myself hard, the pain bringing tears to my eyes. It wasn't a dream. I immediately opened the college application system, and the account interface was exactly the same as I remembered. In my past life, I only realized at the moment of death how Gu Wanqing had done it. She didn't hack into the system, nor did she bribe anyone. She simply took advantage of accompanying me to fill out the application, to secretly photograph my verification code and memorize my security questions. The most devastating part was my old tablet at home. That day, she claimed she needed to check school information, took the tablet to connect to our home Wi-Fi, and conveniently set the application system to automatically remember her account, making that device a trusted one. During the final window for last-minute changes before admission, she didn't even need to come to my house anymore. With just that tablet and the information she had previously memorized, she could change my admission from Tsinghua or Peking University to a junior college. I stared at the screen, feeling a chill spreading through my chest. In this life, of course I could immediately change my password, revoke the old tablet's access, and completely block her, but that wouldn't be enough. I know people like Gu Wanqing all too well. Once she realizes I'm guarding against her, she'll definitely switch to a more covert method, possibly even shifting all suspicion completely off herself. What I want isn't just keeping my volunteer application. What I want is irrefutable proof that she personally changed my application. This time, I want her to have absolutely nowhere to run. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm, and began to act. First thing, I recorded the entire college application process starting from login, exported it to the cloud, and additionally made a notarized electronic copy. Second thing, I synced the verification codes to a backup email and an old phone to prevent notifications from being deleted. Third thing, I dug out my dad's old and used webcam, cleaned it, and installed it on the top shelf of the bookcase, with the lens directly facing my desk and computer. Fourth thing, and the most important one, I deliberately kept the trusted permissions on that old tablet. I'm not changing the password, I'm changing the trap. Just as I finished all this, my phone vibrated. Gu Wanqing sent a message. Xiaoxue, I'll come to your house tomorrow afternoon to help you fill out your college applications. Okay, I went through the major groups at Tsinghua and Peking University for you again last night. I stared at those 2 lines, feeling a wave of nausea churning in my stomach. That's exactly what she said in her past life. Back then, I only thought she was considerate, even feeling lucky in my heart to have such a good friend. Looking back now, every word feels like a needle wrapped in sugar. My fingers paused for a few seconds before slowly typing out the reply. Sure, come on. The next afternoon, Gu Wanning arrived right on time. She carried some fruit and a thick professional notebook, greeted my mom with a smile as soon as she walked in, making my mom beam with delight. Auntie, I specially reviewed the professional group for Xiaoxua last night. She has high scores, so you need to be even more careful. Don't let one small detail slip and cause a delay. My mother nodded repeatedly. Wan Qing is still the most thoughtful, with you accompanying Xiaoxua. I feel at ease. I sat in the room listening, my fingertips gradually tightening. After Gu Wanqing came in, she sat by my bed as if she were familiar with the place, opened her notes, and pointed at them for me to see. You see, the major group at Qingbei leans more towards engineering, so your future path will be more stable. Peking University is also good, but haven't you always said you wanted to join a lab and do research? In that case, Qingbei is actually more suitable for you, she spoke. Very earnestly, as if she were genuinely planning my future for me. I listened while logging into the system in front of her, opening each option one by one. Major selection, accepting program adjustments. The camera on the bookshelf was on, the screen recording software was running in the background, and the verification code synchronization was also active. I deliberately left myself unguarded. Just as I had in my previous life, I still prefer Tsinghua or Peking University, I said, staring at the screen as if talking to myself. If I can get into a national-level lab someday, my parents would probably be really happy. Gu Wanqing paused while flipping through her notes. She looked up and smiled at me, her smile still as gentle as ever. Of course, with your scores, you're naturally worthy of the best future. But in that instant, I still caught the fleeting stiffness in her eyes. Pretending not to notice, I stood up and said, I'll go get some iced drinks. Before leaving the room, I deliberately left my phone, computer screen, an old tablet on the table. This time, I wasn't unprepared. I left it for her on purpose. When I came back with 2 drinks, Gu Wanning was already sitting up straight, flipping through that notebook. She saw me and smiled as if nothing had happened. So soon? Didn't want you to wait too long. I put down the drink and casually picked up my phone, pretending to glance at the screen. By the way, Gu Wanning took a sip of her iced drink and casually reminded, don't make your security questions too complicated. Your memory isn't that great. What if you forget them yourself later? That'd be quite troublesome. I almost let out a sneer right there. She said something similar in her past life. Back then, I even laughed at her for being a jinx, telling her how could I possibly forget my own account. Now that I think about it, every word she said wasn't just idle chatter. She was testing me, and also paving the way for herself. It's fine, I smiled down. I can remember, we chatted for over an hour. She alternated between analyzing the popularity of majors for me, calculating my score ranking, and occasionally reminding me to double-check my college application order. My mom brought in fruit twice during the conversation, standing at the doorway and smiling as she sighed. Wan Qing is such a thoughtful child. Xiaoxua, having a friend like her, Mom is truly at ease. It felt as if something cold had just crushed my heart, yet I still had to force a smile on my face. At 7 in the evening, Gu Wanqing finally got up to leave. Before leaving, she patted my shoulder, her voice soft and gentle. Don't be nervous, just fill it out as you think. Anyway, no matter how you fill it, it won't make a difference in the end. I looked at her and gave a slight nod. Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. After she left, I immediately locked the door and rushed back to the desk to pull up the camera footage. When I pressed the play button, I could even hear my own heartbeat in the footage. As soon as I left the room, Gu Wanqing lowered her head. She first took out her phone and quickly snapped a photo of the verification code reminder on my desk. Then she looked at the computer screen and memorized my security questions. Finally, she reached out, picked up the old tablet, opened the browser, logged into the volunteer system, and checked the option to remember the account automatically. The entire process took less than a minute, yet it was this less than a minute, and every detail in that remote login alert from my past life, that matched up one by one. I stared fixedly at the screen, my hands slowly clenching, not even noticing my nails digging into my palm. What I never got to see with my own eyes in my past life, even until death, was now clearly laid out before me in this life. She really did it after all, not a single step off. The video froze on the moment she bent down to type in the verification code. The light fell on her profile, gentle to the point of innocence. Looking at that Familiar face. My chest felt as if crushed under a boulder. Gu Wanqing, so in this life, you still end up doing the same thing. On the day the application deadline arrived, I woke up very early. Truth be told, I barely slept the night before. The image of Gu Wanqing lowering her head to take a verification code keeps flashing in my mind. I clearly already have the first piece of evidence of her actions, but I still don't dare to let go, because I know it's not enough. I need her to actually change the volunteer application, actually putting myself into a dead end. At 10 in the morning, I moved my computer to the living room. My dad was sitting on the sofa, my mom standing beside him, staring more intently than I was. In front of them, I went through each of my choices again, confirming them one by one. First choice, Tsinghua or Peking University, major group, order of majors, willingness to be adjusted. Nothing missing. My mom looked nervous, muttering repeatedly, slow down, read carefully, don't rush. My dad pretended to stay calm, but his eyes never left the screen. Finally, I clicked submit. When the submission success page popped up, I deliberately paused for a few seconds to let them all see it clearly. Only then did my mom breathe a sigh of relief. All right, now I'm really at ease. I smiled too, but the smile never reached her eyes. At noon, Gu Wanqing even sent a voice message specially. Her voice carried a familiar smile. Zhao Shui, have you submitted it yet? When you receive your acceptance letters from Tsinghua and Peking University, don't forget to treat me to a big meal. I listened to that voice message twice before pressing reply. Sure, as soon as the results come out, you'll be the first person I treat. For the next half month, I didn't bring up anything. I chatted with her as usual, replied with, I'm fine, and not nervous, as usual, and invited her to my house as usual. Listening to her pretend to ask if I had started checking the admission progress, she also acted flawlessly, as if she genuinely wanted me to get into Tsinghua or Peking University even more than I did. Until the day the admission inquiry opened, at 6:30 in the evening, the whole family gathered around the computer again. The family group chat is even livelier than in my previous life. Hurry up and send the screenshot. Tonight, we must wait for Zhao Shue's good news from Tsinghua and Peking University. I stared at the query page, my palms growing colder by the moment, knowing what was going to happen next. My chest still couldn't help but tighten when the moment actually arrived. At 7:05, the page loaded. My mom saw it first, and her whole body went limp, collapsing directly onto the ground. My dad rushed to the computer, glanced at it for just a second, then raised his hand and slapped me. Lin Zhaoxue, are you out of your mind? A sharp buzzing rang in my ears, and my face burned painfully, but I didn't cry. I stared at the screen, my entire body turning cold. On the page was still that school, so familiar it made me sick. Linjiang Vocational and Technical College. Again, exactly the same. History is like a knife, stabbing back with a vengeance. I didn't change it, I said, covering my face, my voice trembling. I really didn't change it. Would it have changed on its own if you didn't? My father's eyes were red with anger. The whole family watched you fill out Tsinghua and Peking University. How did it end up being a vocational college in the end? My mother was crying on the floor, grabbing my pant leg and asking me over and over if I had remembered wrong, if I was too nervous. At that moment, the doorbell rang. Zhou Lan arrived quickly. She had clearly rushed over after seeing the screenshot in the group chat. After looking at the page, her brows immediately furrowed. Zhao Shue, the college application system doesn't make mistakes for no reason. As soon as these words were spoken, the way my parents looked at me changed. It was the same in my past life. Everyone assumed by default that the system couldn't be wrong. The only one who could be wrong was me. Gu Wanqing rushed in at that very moment. As soon as she saw the page, her eyes turned red. She quickly came over, hugged me tightly, and her voice trembled heavily. Zhao Shue, how could this happen? Uncle, Auntie, please don't push her anymore. She's already suffering enough. She hugged me, crying more genuinely than anyone else, yet still pleading on my behalf, but this only made everyone more certain of one thing. This is a mess I've brought upon myself. I lowered my head and, under the pretense of wiping away tears, opened the synchronized email. At the top lay a new email, volunteer system login and modification reminder. I clicked it open, and my heart sank heavily. Last night at 11:22 p.m., someone logged into my account from a trusted device, modified my application choices, and completed the electronic confirmation. At the very bottom of the email, there was a line of text that felt almost chillingly cruel. If a complete appeal for an exception is not submitted before 24:00 tonight, the admission file will be officially locked. I suddenly looked up at the clock on the wall. It was now 6:27 p.m. time until midnight, only 5.5 hours remained. I stared intently at the email, then slowly raised my eyes to look at Gu Wanning, who was still hugging me and crying. Tears welled at the corners of her eyes, her expression of heartache flawless. If I hadn't known the truth already, even I would have almost believed her. She really has changed, and I only had 5.5 hours left to get Qingbei back. The house was completely in chaos. My mom was sitting on the ground crying, my dad pacing back and forth in the living room furious, while Zhou Lan kept saying over and over, "Stay calm, don't make a big deal out of this." Gu Wanqing hugged me, tears falling rapidly, as if she truly cared about me more than anyone else. "Zhao Xue, don't rush just yet. Rushing to the admissions office now won't help. If it turns out it was really your own mistake, it'll only make things worse." She spoke softly, as if thinking on my behalf, but I knew she was just buying time. "As long as it drags to zero, the file will be locked and Qingbei will be completely gone." I lowered my head, deliberately pretending to be on the verge of breaking down, but my hands secretly turned on the voice recorder in my pocket. What should I do then? My voice was extremely hoarse. "Are you really expecting me to go to a junior college? That's not what I meant." She hugged me tightly, sobbing as she said, "I just think you're too emotional right now. If you say something wrong at the admissions office, things will only get worse. How about taking a break first?" That's exactly what she said in my past life too. Taking that break led to my college enrollment being locked, my dad breaking his leg, and my mom completely collapsing. I can't believe her this time, but I didn't expose her right away. Just kept my head down and stayed silent. Sure enough, seeing that I didn't say anything, she became bolder. A few minutes later, she excused herself to go to the restroom and turned toward the balcony. I took 2 steps forward and stopped by the door. She thought I hadn't followed, so she lowered her voice and spoke to Teacher Zhou. "Teacher Zhou, please calm her down first. She's extremely emotional right now. If she really makes a scene at the admissions office, it'll only get more embarrassing. First, keep her calm, don't let her go over now." A chill ran down my spine. She doesn't just want to harm me, she wants to do exactly as she did in her past life, holding me while crying, yet personally pressing me down to my death right there. By the time she turned back, tears were already streaming down her face again. "Zhao Xue, the teacher is doing this for your own good." Before she could finish speaking, I had already turned around and walked back into the room. I pulled open the drawer to get my old tablet, but suddenly froze. The login history in the browser is gone, the automatically saved account records are gone, even the recent operation history has been cleared. I stared at the screen, my fingertips gradually turning cold. Gu Wanqing not only changed her application choices for college admission, but also took advantage of the earlier chaos to erase all traces from her old tablet. If I hadn't recorded everything in advance, and synchronized and notarized it, this move alone would have been enough to send me back into the same dead end as in my previous life. Outside the room, my dad suddenly shouted, "Are we going to the admissions office or not?" I clutched the tablet and walked out. Zhou Lan frowned at me, her tone growing heavier. "Zhao Xue, think carefully first. If you go over there now and it turns out in the end you're still the one who confirms the changes, what if it's not?" I looked up and interrupted her directly. The living room fell silent all of a sudden. Zhou Lan froze. My mom also looked at me with red eyes. I wiped the tears from my face, my voice not loud, yet each word fell heavily. "I'm going to the admissions office, right now." It was almost 10 o'clock when we arrived at the admissions office. The teacher on duty led us into the office, and after hearing the situation, they first pulled up the system backend. The rows of records on the screen were cold and complete. At 1:22 a.m. last night, the account was logged into via a trusted device. Security verification passed. Volunteer modification successful. Electronic confirmation completed. The on-duty teacher pulled up the electronic receipt again, which clearly stated, "The examinee himself has confirmed the modification of his application." When my mom saw those lines of text, her face turned pale and her hands gripping mine were trembling. "Zhao Xue," her voice trembled, as if she wanted to ask me something but dared not bring it out. In my previous life, it was at this moment that I completely broke down. Back then, I couldn't produce any evidence, nor could I explain why the system showed, confirmed by the applicant, but in this life, I came prepared. This wasn't changed by me. I said to the teacher on duty, my voice steady, "I have evidence to prove that my final submission was for Tsinghua and Peking University." I pulled out the screen recordings saved on my phone, the electronic notarization emails, and the submission screenshots one by one. This is the full screen recording from the day I submitted the application. This is the notarization timestamp. This is the successful submission page. the on-duty teacher, who had initially been somewhat perfunctory in a routine manner, visibly changed expression after reading it. "Please wait a moment, I'll call the technical teacher over." Soon, a technical teacher hurried over. He checked the back end again and had me pull up my phone's verification code records. I opened the carrier's back end and pulled up that crucial verification code from last night. The log showed that, although the code was sent to my number, the reading device wasn't my current primary phone, but a synchronized secondary device. I then opened the screenshot from the secretly filmed video in Chapter 3. Gu Wanqing's action of looking down to photograph my verification code page was clearly captured. The room fell silent all of a sudden. My mom suddenly turned her head to look at Gu Wanqing. "Why are you taking pictures with your phone?" Gu Wanqing's face paled for a moment, and the next second, tears fell down. "Auntie, I didn't. I was just taking a photo of the notes on the table that day, and accidentally included it. You don't suspect me too, do you?" she cried quickly and fiercely, as if she had suffered a great injustice. "If I hadn't died once, even I would have admired her face." The technical teacher continued typing on the keyboard, his expression growing increasingly serious. "What we can confirm now is that the candidate themselves last submitted Tsinghua and Peking University. And then a trusted device made further changes. But to determine a system anomaly, we're still missing the final piece of evidence." My heart sank. "What? Who exactly is using this trusted device?" He looked up at me. "If we can't directly prove that someone else operated it, the system will still have to recognize it as authorized by you." I glanced at the electronic clock on the wall. 10:07. Less than 2 hours remained until midnight. The teacher on duty's tone also grew heavier. "Student Lin, you have 2 hours left. If direct evidence isn't produced within 2 hours, the file will be sealed and the outcome won't change." At that moment, even the air seemed to freeze. My dad stood beside me, his breathing growing heavier. The glimmer of hope that had just risen in my mom's eyes was instantly crushed by those words. But just then, a sudden image flashed through my mind. On the afternoon of filling out the college application, my mom walked into my room carrying a plate of fruit. I abruptly looked up, except for Gu Wanqing. That afternoon, someone else came into my room. "Go home and check the surveillance footage." As soon as I said it, everyone froze for a moment. My dad reacted first. "What surveillance?" "The one in the living room." I stared at him, directly facing my bedroom door and a corner of my desk. That afternoon, my mom went into my room. The camera must have captured who touched that tablet. My mom suddenly remembered too. "Yes, I did bring some fruit in." Gu Wanqing's face instantly turned pale, but she soon spoke again with reddened eyes, her voice trembling with grievance. "Xiaoxue, aren't you being too hasty? I'm really just helping you look up information. You can't blame me for everything that happens." She actually dared to turn the tables. I ignored her and turned to walk out. No one spoke the whole way. The car was so heavy with tension it was hard to breathe. Back home, my dad hurriedly adjusted the living room surveillance camera. The footage wasn't particularly clear, but the angle just happened to capture my bedroom door and a corner of my desk. We rewound the footage to the afternoon of the college application day. After I got up to get a drink from the kitchen, Gu Wanqing was the only one left in the room. In the surveillance footage, she first leaned forward toward my desk, then reached out to pick up the old tablet and bent her head to operate it for about 10 seconds. At that moment, my mom walked in carrying a plate of fruit. Gu Wanqing immediately flipped the tablet face down on the table and looked up, smiling at my mom. "Auntie, what's your Wi-Fi password? I want to look up some school information." My mother stared at the screen, her face gradually turning pale. I remember now, her voice trembled. She really did ask me for the password that day, and I told her. She also said it would be more convenient to look up information on the tablet. This sentence fell like the final puzzle piece finally clicking into place. The room camera captured her secretly filming the verification code and memorizing the security questions. The living room surveillance recorded her operating the old tablet alone. My mother can testify that she asked for the Wi-Fi password and also handled that device separately. Additionally, there is the device identification from the system backend and the verification code secondary terminal access log. The chain of evidence was finally complete. I immediately organized the surveillance screenshots together with the previous recordings and sent them to the technical staff at the admissions office. Gu Wanqing completely panicked when she saw me sending the message. She suddenly lunged forward, trying to snatch my phone. "Lin Xiaoxue, are you crazy? You didn't get into Tsinghua or Peking University yourself, so you want to blame me, right?" She moved too hastily, her tears smudging all over her face, and for the first time, she could no longer maintain that gentle, aggrieved look. I took a step back. The next second, my dad had already stepped in front of me, blocking her. Stay away from my daughter. For the first time in my life, my dad stepped in front of me without hesitation. My throat tightened, but I didn't let it distract me. That's when my phone rang. He is the technical teacher from the admissions office. I picked it up immediately. The voice on the other end of the phone clearly changed. Lin Zhaoxue, come back immediately. The evidence is sufficient. I held my phone, and the breath that had been weighing on my heart for 2 lifetimes finally eased with a heavy sigh. Gu Wanqing, however, stood rooted to the spot, her face as pale as paper, the panic in her eyes now completely unable to hide. I looked at her and spoke word by word. Gu Wanqing, now, do you still want to keep crying? By the time we rushed back to the admissions office, it was almost 11 o'clock. The lights in the duty room were glaringly bright, and the technical staff pulled up each surveillance video and back-end log I had sent, projecting them onto the large screen. The first clip was from the camera inside my room. Gu Wanqing bent down to photograph the verification code notification on my phone, jotting down the security question. The second segment is about the living room surveillance. After I left the room, she picked up the old tablet and operated it alone. When my mom brought in some fruit, she immediately flipped the tablet face down on the table and casually asked for the Wi-Fi password. The third segment is about the system backend, trusted device login, volunteer modification, electronic confirmation, all corresponded to 11:22 a.m. The fourth paragraph is the carrier's record. That crucial verification code was not read on my primary phone but was synced to a secondary terminal. When all the evidence is put together, there are no gaps left. The technical teacher turned off the projector, his tone turning cold. It can be confirmed that Lin Zhaoxue's college application was tampered with by someone else using a trusted device after she submitted it herself. My mother immediately covered her mouth, tears falling with a soft patter. My father stood beside her, his fists clenched so tightly that the veins on the back of his hands bulged. Zhou Lan's expression turned extremely grim, and the way she looked at Gu Wanqing was as if she were seeing her for the first time. But Gu Wanqing was still struggling. Her face was deathly pale, tears streaming down, her voice trembling violently. It wasn't me, I was just helping her look up information. I didn't change her application. You can't just blame me for everything just because I'm close to her. She's still acting, but this time, no one is watching her cry anymore. The tech teacher pulled up the device identification information from the old tablet and compared it one by one with the back-end login terminals. The device information is completely identical. Still want to keep denying it? Gu Wanqing's lips moved, but no sound came out. I stared at her, suddenly remembering how in my past life she sat by my bedside, wiping away my tears while softly saying, even a junior college graduate can pursue a bachelor's degree. At that time, I really thought she was comforting me. It turned out she just wanted to see me resign myself to fate. Gu Wanqing finally stopped crying. She raised her head and looked at me, her eyes frighteningly red, with no trace of grievance left, only the hatred that had been suppressed for many years. Yes, I changed it. The room fell silent instantly. My mother seemed to lose all her strength, steadying herself by holding onto the corner of the table. Zhou Lan's face turned pale. Gu Wanqing, however, seemed to have given up on herself, staring at me and hurling her words one by one. Why are you always number one? Why is it always you standing at the front during every exam, every award ceremony, every interview? Even my parents say, if only you were half as promising as Lin Zhaoxue. Her tears were still on her face, but her voice grew sharper and sharper. I only wanted to make you fall out of the top universities, but that day you said you still wanted to enter a national-level laboratory in the future, and suddenly I couldn't accept it. Why should I watch you keep winning? Why should I watch you climb up by stepping on everyone? I just want you to live forever with the joke of scoring 702 points but filling out the wrong college application and ending up in a vocational school. When the last sentence fell, there wasn't a sound in the room. The truth I never heard until my death in my previous life. This time, she finally said it out loud herself. The technical teacher picked up the phone and contacted the higher-ups on the spot, immediately paused the lock-in and initiate anomaly correction. The electronic clock on the wall ticked forward. 11:40. In the final 20 minutes before midnight, the on-duty teacher hung up the phone and looked at me. Lin Zhaoxue, your appeal has been accepted. The day after the appeal was upheld, the admissions teams from Tsinghua and Peking University contacted me again. They confirmed the abnormal situation and told me they would expedite the supplementary admission review process, asking me to wait for the notification patiently. When the call ended, my hands were still trembling. The vocational college admission result that had dragged me into the abyss in my previous life had finally been torn open. My mother held me and cried for a long time, sobbing as she apologized, saying she shouldn't have doubted me even when she saw the electronic confirmation at the admissions office. I shook my head and said nothing. It wasn't that she didn't believe me, she was just terrified by the identical outcome of this life and the last. My father stood nearby, silent for a long while, before finally whispering, "I was wrong." The pain from that slap only now seemed to finally dissipate. The atmosphere at school changed faster than the weather. Those who had been sarcastically mocking me in group chats the day before, saying things like, "How could you mess up filling out a 702 application," all fell silent overnight. Some even privately messaged me, saying they hadn't known the truth before and asking me not to take it to heart. I didn't reply to any of them, they were just watching for fun when I fell, and now that I've climbed back up, they're pretending to be innocent again. Too late. Zhou Lan came to my house in person that afternoon. She stood at the door, her expression stiffer than ever. "Zhao Xue. This matter was a misjudgment by the teacher. I apologize to you. In my past life, her statement that the system doesn't make mistakes without reason nearly pushed me into a dead end. In this life, she has apologized, but there isn't much turmoil in my heart." I only replied calmly, "Teacher, don't rush to convict me for others in the future." Her face turned pale, and she couldn't say a word for a long time. The school and the admissions office both released statements regarding Gu Wanqing's tampering with her college entrance exam application. As soon as the news came out, the entire school was in an uproar. Those who once praised her for being considerate, gentle, and good at handling people turned around, and all they could say when mentioning her was, it was her who changed Lin Zhaoshue's college application. The 985 university she had originally applied to directly revoked her admission after receiving feedback about academic integrity irregularities. That night when the news came back, Gu Wanqing and her mother arrived. Her mother was crying and shouting, and as soon as she saw my mom, she tried to kneel down, but my dad blocked her. "Don't do this, the child is still young." She was just confused for a moment. "Zhao Xue, talk to the school, don't make things so irreversible, otherwise her whole life will be ruined." Gu Wanqing stood aside, her face pale as paper, her eyes severely swollen, but the look in her eyes when she looked at me actually still had a hint of resentment. What she feared most wasn't being unable to go to university. What she feared most was that from now on, whenever anyone mentioned her, they would only think of that sentence. "This is the person who secretly changed her college application after losing to Lin Zhaoxue." Her mother begged me through tears to drop the follow-up actions. I just stood inside the door, watching them. In my past life, when I was driven into a corner, no one pleaded on my behalf. Now, why should I show any mercy? Gu Wanqing finally lifted her head, her voice hoarse and strained. "Lin Zhaoxue, are you really going to force me to death?" I looked at her, my voice very soft. "When you tampered with my college application choices, did you ever think you'd force me to death?" At the end of July, the final review results for the supplementary admissions of Tsinghua and Peking University were finally released. When the text message arrived on my phone, I was standing on the balcony hanging out clothes. The moment the screen lit up, I froze completely. "Congratulations, you have been admitted to Tsinghua or Peking University." Just a short line of text, yet I read it over and over again. The college admission result from my past life that dragged me into the abyss seemed to have finally been completely erased at this moment. My mom was the first one to cry. She hugged me, sobbing so hard she couldn't speak clearly, only repeating over and over, "You're back, finally back." My dad sat on the edge of the sofa, silent the whole time, only raising his hand to repeatedly wipe his eyes. At that moment, I suddenly felt that what I had brought back was not just an admission letter. What I had brought back was the breath of life that had been cut off for 2 generations in our family. A few days later, the courier delivered the admission notice to our door, with a red background and golden characters. The cover clearly displayed the 4 words, "Qingbei University." Many heads poked out in the hallway. In my past life, they laughed at me, thinking it was ridiculous and deserved that I got into a junior college with 702 points. In this life, they can only watch as I bring home the admission letter that belongs to me. I placed the admission letter on the table, my fingertips lingering on the cover for a long time. Suddenly, the memory of that night from my past life flashed through my mind. I lay in bed, swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills, and felt that my life was over. Back then, I never imagined that I would have the chance to stand here, holding the admission letters from Tsinghua and Peking University with peace and stability. Gu Wanqing later sent me many more messages. At first, it was curses, saying I had ruined her life. Later came explanations, claiming she had just been confused for a moment. Then, there were apologies and pleas, one after another. asking if I could reply to her. I didn't reply to any of them, because I finally understood that for some people, the greatest punishment is not forgiving them. Instead, I left her forever in the position she envied the most, watching her rot away on her own. On the first day of school in September, I stood at the entrance of Qingbei with my suitcase in tow, looking up at the school sign. The wind brushed past my face, making my eyes strangely watery. In my past life, the version of me who died when I received the junior college admission result always thought I'd never make it here, but in this life, I walked the path for her. I personally reclaimed the stolen life, inch by inch. I smiled faintly, pulling my suitcase toward the school gate. In this life, I didn't just get into Tsinghua or Peking University, I also saved the version of myself from my past life, who had died in despair. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my past life, I was the most obedient blood bag in the family. My parents wanted me to support my brother through school, so I worked 3 jobs. My brother needed money to get married and buy a house, so I emptied my savings. They said I was tough and unlucky, so I deserved to give more. It wasn't until I lay dying on my sickbed that a wandering Taoist revealed the truth. Young lady, all your good fortune has been drained by your closest kin. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn back to the dinner where my brother was asking for money to buy a car. This time, I could see grayish-white currents of energy being siphoned from me with every word they spoke. I put down my chopsticks and smiled as I said, I can give you the money, but you'll have to sign a loan agreement with a 50% interest rate. Watching the gray energy churning above their heads due to greed, I silently opened the fortune ledger. In my mind, this lifetime, for every bit of luck you've drained from me, I'll make you repay it with interest, using your entire lives. Just before I died, a strange man entered the hospital room, an old man in tattered Taoist robes. The nurse tried to shoo him away, but he stared at me for a long time, shaking his head and sighing. Young lady, you shouldn't have met such an end, he said. What a pity, all your good fortune has been completely drained by your closest kin. Fortune, drained, I wanted to ask, but no sound came out. Your parents, your siblings, even that useless nephew of yours, they're all feeding off your luck. The harder you work, the better they live, the more you give, the worse off you become. The old man leaned in, lowering his voice. Remember this in your next life, luck isn't something you give away for free, you have to charge interest. And then I died. When I opened my eyes again, I was sitting at the dining table, the familiar living room, the familiar aroma of home-cooked food, and the familiar faces across from me. My dad, my mom, my younger brother Lin Chong, his wife Wang Meiwan, and their 10-year-old son Lin Xiaobao. Vivi, what are you spacing out for? My mom placed a piece of braised pork in my bowl. Hurry up and eat, I need to discuss something with you after dinner. I lowered my head to look at my phone. The date displayed, September 12, 2021. I was reborn 2 years ago, back to that night that changed my life. In my previous life, it was after this meal that I agreed to mortgage my small apartment to buy Lin Chong a new car. He said he needed to look respectable for his business, or clients would look down on him. My parents chimed in, families should support each other. Support, I had been supporting them for 20 years, from working at 18 to pay for Lin Chong's education, to handing over money to the family every month after I started working, to saving every penny to buy an apartment, only for it to become the family's emergency fund that could be tapped into at any time. And what did I get? 37 years old, less than 50,000 in savings, unmarried, childless, and only a body full of illnesses. Just before dying, Lin Chong was still calling to urge me. Sis, little Bao wants to sign up for an international summer camp, 38,000, do you still have any money? Wei, my dad knocked on the table. Did you hear what your mom said? I lifted my head, my gaze sweeping over each person. Then, I saw it, there was a faint flow of air, moving from my direction toward each of them. The airflow was gray, like smoke, very thin but continuous. When Lin Chong spoke loudly, the airflow thickened. When Wang Meiwan poured me a drink with a fake smile, several strands of the airflow split off. Even when Lin Xiaobao gnawed on a chicken leg, smacking his lips, a wisp of the airflow drifted toward him. Is this the luck being drained away? Sis, you don't look too well, Lin Chong said insincerely. Is work too tiring? If you ask me, you should just quit that job. 8,000 a month isn't even enough for me to close 2 deals. In my past life, hearing this would have only made me feel wronged, but now it just seems laughable. I'm not feeling too well, I put down my chopsticks. What do you need to discuss? My mother immediately chimed in. It's like this, Xiangzi recently landed a big client, but they care about the car. His old domestic car is embarrassing to drive out, so he wants to switch to an Audi. He's still short 150,000 for the down payment. What about that apartment of yours, mortgage loan? I asked. Exactly. Lin Chang's eyes lit up. Just a loan of 150,000, and I'll handle the monthly payments, sis. Don't worry, once this deal goes through, I'll redeem it for you right away. In my past life, I believed that too, and what happened? The monthly payments were delayed for 3 months, the bank's collection calls came to me, and in the end, I had to use my year-end bonus to cover the shortfall, and that Audi became Wang Meijuan's personal shuttle for picking up and dropping off the kids. I looked at the thickest gray stream of energy above Lin Chang's head and suddenly smiled. Xiangzi, I said. How much profit is there in this deal of yours? He was taken aback for a moment. At least 300,000. All right then, I took out my phone and opened the calculator. I'll give you 150,000, no need to mortgage the house, but this counts as my investment. I want 30% of the profits. The dinner table fell silent. Wang Meijuan was the first to jump up. 30%. Sis, isn't that a bit too harsh? Are we still family if we calculate things so clearly? Exactly, my mother said with a stern face. Vivi, how have you become so calculative? Xiangzi is your own brother. The gray airflow surged wildly, rushing toward them. I felt a wave of weakness, but gritted my teeth and steadied my mind. Even brothers should settle accounts clearly. I looked at Lin Chang. If you think it's okay, I'll transfer the money to you right now. If not, forget it. Lin Chang's expression changed several times. This business deal of his was actually completely unreliable. He just wanted to scam me out of money to buy a new car, but seeing my firm attitude, he hesitated. 30%, that's fine too, he said through gritted teeth, but the money has to be transferred immediately. Agreed, I nodded, but words alone aren't enough, we need to write an IOU. Lin Weiwei, my father slammed the table. Do you have any sense of family affection? What's the point of writing an IOU between family members? I looked at the churning gray aura above my father's head and calmly said, Dad, 150,000 isn't a small amount. Writing an IOU is good for everyone. What if Lin Chang's deal doesn't go through? You're jinxing me. Lin Chang glared. I'm just preparing for the worst, I said, turning to him. What, you don't have confidence in yourself? The tactic of provoking someone's pride always worked on people like Lin Chang, who cared deeply about face. Write it then, he said, his neck stiff, but let me make it clear first. This money counts as a loan from you, not an investment. The interest will be calculated at the bank rate. Fine, I agreed readily. Then we'll go with the bank's commercial loan interest rate, for 5% annualized, for a 1-year term. At maturity, you'll repay me 156,750 yuan, principal and interest included. I quickly quoted the figure, stunning them all. In my past life, I nearly drained myself dry for this family. In this life, I'm going to start with the very first account and make everything crystal clear. You had it all figured out from the start. Wang Meijuan looked at me with suspicion in her eyes. Professional habit, I replied calmly. I work in finance at a small company, so crunching numbers is second nature to me. The IOU was written on the spot. The terms were straightforward. Borrower Lin Chang, lender Lin Weiwei, loan amount of 150,000 yuan, annual interest rate of 4.5%, term of 1 year. If not repaid by the due date, a penalty of 0.05% per day would be added. I had Lin Chang sign and fingerprint the document, and then asked my parents to sign as witnesses. Sis, is it really necessary? Lin Chang signed his name, his face long with displeasure. Absolutely necessary. I carefully put away the IOU. Now, transfer the money. Using my mobile banking app, I transferred him 150,000 yuan in 3 installments. With each transfer, I felt the murky energy flowing toward him weaken slightly. After the money was transferred, I stood up. I'm a bit tired. I'm heading back first. Hey, the dishes haven't been washed yet. My mom said out of habit. In my previous life, washing dishes and cleaning up after family meals was always my job. They took it for granted. I'm not feeling well today, I said, looking at her. Mom, you wash them, or let Meijuan do it. Hasn't she been saying she wants to do some housework to lose weight? Wang Meijuan's face darkened. I didn't pay any more attention, picked up my bag, and left. Stepping out of the house, I took a deep breath of the night air. Strange, even though I had rejected Them and things had ended on an unpleasant note. I felt a noticeable lightness in my body. It was as if an invisible burden that had been weighing me down had been partially lifted. Returning home, my small 40-square-meter apartment, the only asset I truly owned after 10 years of work, though small, it was clean, cozy, and decorated entirely according to my preferences. I took a shower, changed into comfortable pajamas, and sat down at my desk. I turned on the computer and created a new Excel spreadsheet. The file name, Fortune Ledger. In the first row, I wrote, date, September 12, 2021, matter, Lin Chong borrowed $150,000 to purchase a car, fortune change, refused to mortgage the property, requested signing an IOU with interest. The nurturing energy, flowing toward Lin Chong weakened by approximately 15%, personal feeling. Heaviness in the shoulders and neck has lessened. Note, the IOU has been stored as evidence, with an agreed annual interest rate of 4.5%, due date September 12, 2022. At this point, I paused. A ledger can record economic transactions, but how can changes in fortune be quantified? I closed my eyes and recalled the scene at the dinner table. The flow of gray energy seemed to vary in thickness and density as it moved toward each person. The flow toward Lin Chong was the thickest and most concentrated, followed by Wang Meiwan, while the flow toward my parents and children was relatively thinner. Moreover, when I refused them, the energy flow would weaken. When I stood firm, the flow would even briefly cut off. Perhaps I can record it this way. I added a column next to the table, estimated strength of fortune flow, level 1 to 10. After today's entry, I add, premial estimation Lin Chong, level 8, continuous strong absorption, Wang Meiwan, level 6, intermittent absorption, parents, each level 4, stable absorption, Lin Xiaobao, level 2, unconscious contamination, post-dinner assessment, Lin Chong, reduced to level 5, due to the transaction being established, transformed into a debt relationship, with a change in the nature of absorption, Wang Meiwan, reduced to level 3, dissatisfied but helpless, parents, each reduced to level 2, angry but temporarily unable to take action, Lin Xiaobao, still at level 2, no change, personal status change, fatigue, -20%, financial pressure, +15%, but converted into interest-bearing debt, psychological burden, -30%, save the file, encrypt it. After finishing all this, it was already 11 p.m. I lay in bed, but felt no sleepiness at all. On the first day of my rebirth, I changed one thing, but I know, this is just the beginning. The Lin family, these bloodsuckers, won't let me go just because of an IOU. They will use family ties to bind me, moral accusations to blame me, and persistent pestering to continue sucking blood from me, and I, with this ability to see the flow of fortune, will settle accounts with them one by one. Not only will I settle the financial accounts, but also the fortune accounts of these stolen 20 years. The Taoist said, interest must be charged. Very well, I will collect it. They will repay with what they care about most, money, face, a comfortable life, even their self-proclaimed good luck. Outside the window, the city lights flicker. My new life begins with this fortune ledger, and the first repayment date is exactly 1 year from now. Lin Chong, you better work hard. I closed my eyes, a cold curve forming at the corner of my mouth. The next day was Monday. I go to work as usual, working in finance at a small trading company. The salary isn't high, but it's stable, and most importantly, it's close to my apartment, just a 20-minute commute. In my past life, I poured all my energy into work, thinking I could earn a little more to help out at home, but what was the result? Promotions and raises never came my way because I had heavy family responsibilities that might affect my work commitment. When colleagues took leave, it was for personal reasons, but when I did, it was family matters again. This time, I won't be that foolish anymore. At 10 in the morning, my mother's call comes right on time. Vivi, what was wrong with you last night? She started with a complaint. It was just a family dinner, and you made it so tense. Jiangzi is your own brother, you should help him. I looked at the report on the computer screen and replied calmly, Mom, I did help him, 150,000 yuan. That was a loan, and with interest. Her voice rose. What will people think if this gets out? They'll say you're obsessed with money, even scheming against your own brother. I could almost see the gray, tense energy trying to travel through the sound waves from the other end of the phone. I moved the phone a little further away from my ear. Mom, even brothers keep clear accounts. That's an old saying, I said. Besides, if Jiangzi really has the ability, why would he be afraid of not being able to repay such a small amount, or, do you not have confidence in him? That hit her where it hurt. Lin Chong is my mother's pride and joy. In her eyes, her son is perfect in every way. It's just that, luck hasn't been on his side. Who said that? Jiangzi definitely has the ability, she immediately retorted. He's sure to succeed this time. That's good, I said, following up. Once he makes money and pays me back with interest, won't all this gossip stop? Mom, I have a meeting to attend now, so I'll hang up first. Without waiting for her response, I ended the call. The gray airflow on the screen flickered for a moment and then cut off. I let out a sigh, feeling a sense of relief as my ears finally quieted down. At lunch in the cafeteria, my colleague Xiao Zhou leaned over and said, Sister Weiwei, you look great. What did you do over the weekend? Xiao Zhou works in administration at the company and is 5 years younger than me. She has a cheerful personality. In my past life, I was always busy with family matters and rarely interacted with colleagues. Later, when I fell ill and left my job, she was the only one who came to visit me in the hospital. I rested at home, I replied with a smile. How about you? I went hiking with my boyfriend, and I'm exhausted. She stuck out her tongue. By the way, I heard the assistant manager position in the sales department has opened up, and a lot of people are eyeing it. Assistant manager, I remember now. In my past life, this position ended up going to a male colleague, supposedly because he had children to support and was under a lot of pressure. As for me, because I was unmarried and childless, unstable, and likely to get married and have children in the future, which could affect my work, I didn't even make it past the first round of interviews. How ironic. Sister Weiwei, why don't you give it a try? Xiao Zhou said. You have the strongest professional skills and enough seniority. My heart stirred. Yes, why not give it a try? In my past life, I always felt I wasn't good enough and gave opportunities to others. In this life, I'm going to fight for it, not just for the money, but also for that sense of pride. Let me think about it, I said. In the afternoon, I went to see Director Li, the head of finance, a professional woman in her 40s. Director Li, I'd like to apply for the position of deputy manager in the sales department. I got straight to the point. Director Li was somewhat surprised. The sales department? You have a finance background. I've been with the company for 6 years and have handled accounts for all departments. I'm very familiar with the sales process, customer structure, and cost-profit dynamics. I handed over the prepared materials. This is the sales data analysis report I compiled, along with optimization suggestions for the current business processes. I stayed up all last night working on the report. Having been reborn, I have a clear understanding of the company's challenges and opportunities over the next 2 years. Mr. Li flipped through the pages, his eyes growing brighter. How did you obtain this data? I analyzed it from the annual reports over the years. I said, Mr. Li, finance shouldn't just be about bookkeeping, it should empower the business. I believe I can be a good bridge in that regard. She pondered for a moment. Your idea is good, however, the competition for this position is fierce, and over in the sales department. Director Wang, I'll make him see my value, I said confidently. As I left Mr. Li's office, I felt the gray currents flowing toward the office. Those stemming from my past, non-confrontational, and timid luck, were beginning to turn. They began to flow back, though faintly, but in the right direction. Before leaving work, I received a WeChat message from Lin Chong. It was a photo of him standing next to a brand new Audi, smiling with pride and satisfaction. The caption read, Sis, got the car, thanks. I'll take you for a spin sometime. I didn't reply. I saved the photo and then made an entry in the Book of Fortune. Date, September 13th, 2021. Event, Lin Chong shows off new car. Fortune change, due to the vehicle purchase, using my loan, is personal, vanity/show off. Fortune briefly strengthened, +3 levels, but the foundation is unstable. The emotional blackmail energy flow toward me has temporarily calmed. Note, retain evidence of showing off. The vehicle is a depreciating asset. Its value will depreciate to less than 120,000 yuan after 1 year. Loan risk has increased. Just finished writing it down. Wang Meijuan's call came in. Sis, the car's been picked up. You saw the photos, right? Her voice was sickeningly sweet. Jiangzi is so happy. He says it's all thanks to you. I responded indifferently. Sis, there's one more thing I'd like to trouble you with. She got to the point. Xiaobao's school is organizing some parent career sharing event, asking parents with unique experiences to give a talk. Jiangzi, and I don't have much to share. But you're a white-collar worker with broad experience. Could you go in our place? In my previous life, I also encountered this situation. I took time off to go, carefully prepared a PowerPoint presentation, and gave a talk to the children on the mysteries of numbers. It went very well, and the teacher even praised Little Bao. What was the result? Little Bao came home and said, "My classmates all said my aunt is amazing and asked me what my parents do." I felt too embarrassed to say. When Wang Meiwan found out, instead of being grateful, she said sourly, "What are you showing off for? You're making the child feel inferior." A classic case of, a little kindness is appreciated, but too much is taken for granted. I've been really busy lately, competing for a management position. I said, I can't spare the time, just one afternoon. Sis, please help me out. Xiaobao has already bragged to his classmates about it. She started guilt-tripping me. A child's matters are the most important. As his aunt, Meiwan, I interrupted her. Xiaobao's parents are you and Lin Chong. The primary responsibility for a child's education lies with the parents. If you feel your jobs aren't glamorous enough, you can communicate honestly with your child or work on improving yourselves, instead of always expecting others to step in. There was silence on the other end of the line. A grayish current of air was churning violently. It was anger and resentment. Sis, that's really hurtful, don't you think? Wang Meijuan's tone turned cold. I'm telling the truth. I stood my ground. Is there anything else? I need to work overtime. Hung up the phone. Refreshing. I walked to the window and looked down at the bustling traffic below. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the entire city. Refusing feels so damn good. I worked overtime until 8 p.m. to finish the presentation PPT for the sales deputy manager position. On my way home, I stopped by a bookstore and bought a few books on management and sales. Since I'm going for it, I need to be fully prepared. It was already past 9 p.m. when I got home. As soon as I walked in, my phone rang again. This time it was my dad. "Vivi, your mom said you really upset her today," he said in a heavy tone, "and Meiwan cried all afternoon, saying you looked down on them." I put down my bag, switched to speakerphone, and listened as I changed my shoes. "Dad, I was just telling the truth. Honesty can't be this blunt. Family members should be considerate of each other," he sighed. "Vivi, Dad knows you're under a lot of pressure and it's not easy being on your own, but you're the most successful one in the family. If you don't help out, who will?" "Here we go again, Dad," I asked calmly. "I'm 33 this year. From the time I started working at 18, it's been 15 years. Haven't I helped enough? Lin Chong's tuition, wedding dowry, down payment for the house, now buying a car. Have you ever calculated how much money I've given in total?" My dad was left speechless. "I never calculated it, because I felt it was my duty," I continued, "but now I understand. I can help, but there has to be a limit. Lin Chong is 30 years old, with a wife and child. It's time for him to stand on his own. I can't support him for the rest of his life. He's your brother, which is exactly why he should learn to take responsibility." I raised my voice. "Dad, if you really care about him, you should push him to grow up, not always rely on me to clean up his mess." Heavy breathing came from the other end of the phone. The gray currents churned, but this time, there was a hint of hesitation mixed in. Perhaps deep down, my dad knew I was right, but he just didn't want to admit it. "Anyway, your mom is feeling upset," was all he said in the end. "I'll give her a call tomorrow," I said. "Dad, I'm tired. I'm going to rest now." After hanging up, I collapsed onto the sofa, tired, mentally exhausted, but it's different from the kind of exhaustion that felt like being drained in my previous life. This time, it's the fatigue after a battle. With a hint of relief, I record in the Book of Fortune ledger, date, September 13, 2021, evening, matter, continuously rejecting moral coercion from mother, sister-in-law, and father. Changes in fortune. 1. Mother's direction. Due to the rejection of demands, the emotional blackmail, airflow weakens, but the complaint, airflow strengthens. Overall absorption intensity rebounds from level 2 to level 3. 2. Sister-in-law's direction. The comparison/exploitation, airflow has been severed, turning into envy/resentment. Airflow, newly emerged, intensity level 4, requires vigilance. 3. Father's direction, slight fluctuations of reflection appear, a trace of transparency mixed within the newly formed gray airflow. Overall absorption intensity decreased from level 2 to level 1. Personal status, mental fatigue plus 20%, but inner resolve plus 40%, aura stability plus 10%. Note, rebound and resentment are normal reactions during the initial phase of supply cutoff. It is necessary to maintain composure and prevent emotional backlash. After writing, I stared at the words, aura stability plus 10%, this is a word I made up myself, but I can feel it, that constant sense of weakness from being drained is indeed easing, it's like a tree long entangled by parasitic vines, slowly beginning to break free. A week later, the competition for the deputy sales manager position began. The meeting room was filled with over a dozen people. Company executives, department heads, and several competitors. I was the last one to give my speech. The previous few people either boasted endlessly, listed their qualifications, or played the emotional card. Director Wang from the sales department listened with an expressionless face. When it was my turn, I opened the PowerPoint presentation, without any self-introduction or unnecessary words. I got straight to the point. Leaders, the topic of my presentation today is, how to use financial thinking to increase sales profits by 20%. Mr. Wang lifted his eyelids slightly. I presented 3 key charts. The first chart shows the comparison curve of the company's sales revenue and profit margin over the past 3 years. It clearly indicates that while sales have increased, the profit margin has declined. The second chart analyzes the performance and costs of each salesperson. The data highlights several salespeople with high sales but low profit margins, or even negative profits. Third, my solution: establish a sales contribution value assessment system, incorporating financial indicators such as payment cycles, customer quality, and gross profit margins into the evaluation, and linking them to bonuses. Sales isn't about selling more, it's about achieving higher profits, I said, using financial data to profile sales. We can eliminate ineffective customers and focus on high-quality business. It is expected that after implementation, sales expenses can be reduced by 15%. And overall profit margins can increase by over 20%. After I finished speaking, the meeting room fell silent for a few seconds. Is the data accurate? Director Wang finally spoke up. All data comes from the company's financial reports and sales system, and can be verified at any time, I confidently replied. How will the performance evaluation system you mentioned be implemented? I have already drafted a preliminary plan and arrangements for the transition period, I said, handing over the prepared documents. Mr. Wang flipped through the pages, and his furrowed brow gradually relaxed. Mr. Li added at the right moment, Lin Weiwei has been in the company's finance department for 6 years and has a deep understanding of the business. I think her idea is very valuable. The results of the competition were announced 3 days later. I succeeded. As the news spread, discussions erupted within the company. Some said I earned it through my abilities. Others claimed I relied on connections, and there were also those who questioned, why does a woman have to work so hard? I didn't care. My salary increased by 50%, but more importantly, I now have a new platform. On the afternoon of the announcement of the appointment, I solemnly recorded in the Book of Fortune ledger, date, September 22, 2021 event, successfully competed for the position of Deputy Sales Manager, change in fortune. 1. Career direction, due to striving and achieving, personal, career/ambition, fortune has significantly increased, new golden energy flow. Intensity level 6, the original office, oppression/being underestimated, aura has completely dissipated. 2. Family direction, did not inform family about this matter, however, personal overall aura stability has increased to 25%, and resistance to absorption in the family direction has significantly strengthened. Personal status, confidence plus 60%, energy level plus 40%. Note, career is the foundation of one's standing and the cornerstone to resist luck drain. Continue to consolidate it. Closing my laptop, I stand by the glass window of the office, looking down at the street below. Cars flow like a woven fabric, and pedestrians hurry along. Everyone is rushing, everyone wants to grasp something, and what I must do is firmly grasp my own life. Lin Chong, Wang Meiwan, my parents, they will come again, next time. What excuse will they use? I'm waiting. The ledger pages turn one by one. What is owed to me will eventually be repaid. Outside the window, the autumn chill deepens. My counterattack has only just begun. The days after the promotion were busy and fulfilling. The pace of work in the sales department was much faster than in finance, with daily demands from clients, contracts, and performance pressure. Strangely, though, I didn't feel tired. Instead, I felt a long-lost sense of vitality. I could sense that the newly emerged golden current within me, perhaps it could be called career luck or ambition luck, was growing stronger. It acted like a protective shield, making it harder for the gray, draining currents that tried to seep in from the family side to penetrate. In early October, Lin Chong's big deal indeed fell through. He called me, sounding irritated. Sis, that client is such a jerk, changing his mind at the last minute. The deal didn't go through. I was in the office, reviewing a sales contract while replying to him. Oh, that's a shame, what a shame, he complained. I spent nearly 10,000 on meals and entertainment, all down the drain. I stay silent. Part of the down payment for that Audi came from my money, sis. His tone softens. Look, could you give me some extra time on that loan? I'm tight on cash right now, and the monthly payments are really weighing on me. Here it comes, just as expected. How much extra time? I ask. Half a year. No, a year. Once I find new clients and make some money, I'll pay you back right away. A year. In my past life, he was just like this, delaying again and again until it all came to nothing. Xiangzi, I put down the pen in my hand. The IOU clearly states a 1-year loan period. It's only been a month now. If you're really in a tough spot, I can point you in a direction. What direction? Sell the car, I said calmly. The Audi A4, driven for just a month. Selling it now will get most of the money back. Return the money from the sale to me, and what's left will be enough for you to buy a basic car and still have some for emergencies. Heavy breathing came from the other end of the phone. Sell the car, sis, are you kidding me? I just bought it. How can I sell it now? What would people think? Always caring about face, forever valuing reputation over practicality. Then stick to the contract. My tone turned cold. Pay the interest on time every month, and repay the principal plus interest in full by September 12th next year. It's in black and white, with your signature on it. Lin Weiwei. Are you even my sister? He roared. I'm in this state, and you're still pushing me. A surge of gray energy rushed through the airwaves, carrying anger and resentment, but on my end, a golden protective shield held firm, blocking it all. I am your sister, which is why I lent you money in the first place, I said calmly. But even brothers keep clear accounts, and you agreed to sign the IOU yourself. Lin Chong, you're 30 years old now. It's time you learned to take responsibility for your own choices. The phone was slammed down hard. Listening to the busy tone, I smiled. Opening the Fortune ledger, I recorded, date, October 8, 2021, matter, Lin Chong's request for a loan extension was denied. Changes in Fortune 1, Lin Chong's direction, due to the rejection of his request. A resentful energy flow erupted, intensity level 7, but a guilty conscience energy flow simultaneously emerged, newborn gray mixed with chaotic ripples, causing his overall aura to become chaotic and unstable. 2. Personally, successfully resisted emotional manipulation, career protection. Shield stability plus 5%. Note, first direct financial conflict, anticipated that she would turn to put pressure on parents. Sure enough, my mom called that very night. This time, she didn't directly scold me. Instead, she cried, Vivi, Mom knows it's not easy for you, but Xiangzi is your brother, and he's having a hard time right now. Car loan, mortgage, little Bao's schooling, Meiwan is unemployed. Can't you just help him? A typical tactic of feigning poverty. Mom, how can I help? I asked. My monthly salary is just that much, and I have my own life to live. What about your apartment? Isn't there still a mortgage? Why don't you move back home and rent out the apartment, using the rent to support Xiangzi? I was so angry at these words that I laughed. Mom, do you think this is appropriate? I don't live in my own house. Rent it out, and give the money to my brother. Then where am I supposed to live? Isn't there space at home? Your old room is still reserved for you, she said. Matter-of-factly, it's so much better for the family to live together. And we can take care of each other, more like going back to be a free nanny. In the later years of my previous life, I did move back home for a while, and what happened? I paid for living expenses, did all the housework, and had to listen to their constant complaints. In the end, I had a big fight with Wang Meiwan over disciplining Xiao Bao and was kicked out. Mom, let's not bring this up again, I said firmly. I won't rent the apartment, and I certainly won't move back. Lin Chong's problems are his own to solve. At 30 years old, it's time he grew up. How can you be so heartless? My mother finally dropped the pretense. I raised you for nothing. If I had known you'd turn out like this, I might as well what? I cut her off. Might as well not have given birth to me, or might as well have let me grow up like Lin Chong, sucking the lifeblood of the whole family. On the other end of the phone, there was a deathly silence. The gray, absorbing airflow instantly weakened, replaced by a sense of shock and fear. They probably never expected that their daughter, who had always endured everything, would say such things. Mom, I'm tired, I'm hanging up now. I ended the call myself. After hanging up, my hands were trembling, it wasn't fear, it was the physical reaction after anger, suppressed for too long, finally erupted. I continue to record in the ledger. Date, October 8, 2021, evening, event, rejected mother's proposal of using the house to support my younger brother. Fortune change. 1. Mother's direction. The emotional blackmail. Airflows suffered a heavy blow, its intensity plummeting from level 3 to 0. 5. Resulting in a brief, blank period. A new shock/confusion. Airflow emerged. Intensity level 2. 2. Myself. After intense emotional fluctuations, the awareness of self-boundaries became unprecedentedly clear. The protective shield briefly cracked but quickly repaired itself, ultimately increasing its stability by 10%. Note, a critical breakthrough. For the first time, the shackles of self-sacrifice were completely severed. It is anticipated that the family system will experience greater turbulence over the next week. My family indeed did not contact me. Peace and quiet. I poured all my energy into my new job. The veteran employees in the sales department initially didn't accept me, thinking that with my finance background, I didn't understand the business. I let the data speak for itself, optimized contract solutions for 2 problematic clients, and helped the department earn over 100,000 yuan in additional profit. Manager Wang's gaze toward me gradually changed. In mid-October, the company distributed quarterly bonuses. Thanks to the effectiveness of my new plan, the overall bonus for the sales department increased by 20%. As the deputy manager, I received a substantial income. I didn't tell anyone. With that money, I enrolled in an MBA training course and bought a few decent professional outfits. Clothes make the man, and so does the aura. One day at the end of October, while I was working overtime, the receptionist said someone was looking for me. It was Wang Meiwan. She carried a thermal container, beaming with a smile. Sis, Mom made chicken soup and asked me to bring it to you. She said you work hard and need to nourish your body. The weasel goes to wish the hen a happy new year. I let her into the meeting room. Sis, your office is so big. She looked around, unable to hide the envy in her eyes. Do you need something? I asked directly. Her smile stiffened for a moment before quickly brightening again. It's nothing major, it's just that Xiangzi recently found a new job, working in transportation, and it's quite tough. I was thinking, since you're a leader at your company, could you, maybe help him find something a bit easier? What kind of job? I asked. Just something in an office, like a clerk, or administrative work, anything like that. She leaned in closer. The salary doesn't need to be high, 4 or 5,000 is fine. The main thing is stability, with social security. Jiangzi said you know a lot of people now. I looked at the swirling gray aura above her head. Greed, calculation, a sense of entitlement. Meiwan. I leaned back in my chair. Lin Chong graduated from high school with no professional skills or work experience. Even the most basic positions in our company require a college degree. He doesn't meet the requirements. You could talk to the leadership, pull some strings. Why should I pull strings? I interrupted her. Use my professional reputation to pave the way for someone unqualified. Her face flushed red. Lin Weiwei, don't go too far. After all, he's your brother, so he should rely on his own abilities to make a living. I stood up. Take the chicken soup back with you. I don't need it. Also, don't come to my company to discuss family matters in the future. It doesn't look good. Wang Meiwan trembled with anger, grabbed the thermal container, and left. At the doorway, she turned back and glared at me. Just live alone then. See who will take care of you when you're old. The door slammed shut. I stood where I was, taking a deep breath. Who will take care of me when I'm old? In my past life, I took care of them for a lifetime. But who took care of me when I was old? My phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from Lin Chong. Has Wang Meiwan come to see you? Don't agree to anything she says. That woman just wants me to be a freeloader. I sneered. Husband and wife are like birds in the same forest. When disaster strikes, each schemes for themselves. I didn't reply, but noted in the ledger. Date, October 25, 2021. Matter, rejected Wang Meijuan's work request. Fortune change. 1. Wang Meijuan's direction. The clinging/exploiting energy flow has been completely severed, transforming into intense envy and resentment. Intensity level 8. A crack has appeared in the symbiotic energy field between her and Lin Chong. 2. Lin Chong's direction. Shifting blame/complaining energy flow has emerged, newly formed. Intensity level 3, directed toward Wang Meiwan. 3. Personally, successfully resisted external intrusion. Workplace energy purity increased by 15%. Note, internal family conflicts are beginning to surface. Continue to keep your distance and avoid getting involved. In early November, my dad suddenly came to see me, not by phone, but directly to the entrance of my apartment building. When I got home from work, I saw him squatting by the flower bed smoking, his back hunched. Dad, I walked over, he looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Vivi, Dad wants to talk to you. I took him upstairs and made some tea. He held the teacup, silent for a long time. I noticed that the gray aura above his head was very faint and unstable, sometimes grayish-white, sometimes transparent. Your mom is in the hospital, he finally spoke up. I was taken aback. What happened? High blood pressure. From anger, he glanced at me. She hasn't been feeling well since she argued with you last week, and she fainted yesterday. A wave of gray guilt tried to wash over me, but I steadied myself. What did the doctor say? He needs to rest and avoid any stress. He sighed. Vivi, Dad knows, the family hasn't been fair to you. Jiangzi is unreliable, and your mom is biased, but after all, we're family. Why let things get to this point? I looked at this man who had been honest his whole life. He was the only one in this family who had ever truly cared for me, but he was weak, always trying to smooth things over. Dad, what do you want me to do? I asked. Go to the hospital to see your mom and say a few kind words, and as for Jiangzi, that 150,000 yuan, maybe, let's forget about the interest, just think of it as helping him out. Here we go again, always asking me to back down. Dad, I put down my teacup, I'll go see Mom. That's fine, but when it comes to the money, there's no room for discussion. Lin Chong signed the IOU voluntarily, and the interest is at the bank's standard rate. I'm not running a charity. My dad opened his mouth but ended up saying nothing. The next day, I went to the hospital. My mother lay in the hospital bed, her face pale. When she saw me, she turned her head away. Mom, I placed the fruit by the bedside. She ignored me. The nurse came in to change the dressing and casually remarked, Auntie, your daughter is so filial, coming to see you every day. She's not my daughter. My mother suddenly became agitated. I don't have a daughter like her. The nurse was startled and quickly finished changing the dressing before leaving. Only the two of us remained in the hospital room. Mom, if you're going to be like this, I'm leaving, I said. Go, if you leave, don't come back, she cried. I've raised you for nothing, your brother is struggling so much, and you won't help. I might as well die. Here we go again. In her past life, every time she fell ill, she used this trick to force me to compromise, but this time, I'm not falling for it. Mom, if you really care about Lin Chong, you should let him learn to be independent, I said, standing by the bedside. Can you protect him for the rest of his life? If I really stop taking care of him, who else can he rely on? She froze, tears hanging on her face. Take good care of yourself and get well soon. I turned around. I'll cover half of the medical expenses. That's my duty as a daughter. As for the rest, let's not discuss it. Leaving the ward, I ran into Lin Chong in the corridor. He was unshaven and looked like he hadn't been doing well. Sis, he hesitated, unable to finish his sentence. Mom is inside. Go see her. I walked past him. Sis, he called out to me, that money, I'll start paying the interest next month. The car, I won't sell it, I'll figure something out. I turned back to look at him. In his eyes, there was unwillingness, but even more so, resignation. All right, I nodded. Pay on time, you know the account. Stepping out of the hospital, the autumn sunlight was a bit harsh on the eyes. I recorded in the ledger. Date, November 5, 2021. Event, hospital visit, establishing clear boundaries. Changes in energy flow. 1. Mother's direction. The illness kidnapping energy flow has been identified and blocked. Her emotional control ability has significantly weakened. Intensity reduced from level 3 to level 1. 2. Lin Chong's direction, the first appearance of accepting defeat/pragmatism. Fluctuations, newly emerged, gray mixed with a faint silver light. Although unstable, it is a positive change. 3. Personal direction, successfully passed the test of familial morality. Inner strength increased by 20%. The stability of the protective shield has improved to 40%. Note, a turning point. The family system was forced to begin adapting to new rules at the end of November. Lin Chong indeed repaid the first installment of interest, 562.5 yuan. The amount of money is not large, but its significance is profound. This was the first time in his life that he had paid a price for what he had taken from me. When I received the bank notification, I was in the middle of negotiating with a client. I glanced at it, feeling no emotional stir. In the evening, I received a WeChat message from him. Interest transferred. I will repay on time next month. I didn't reply, but I noted in the ledger. Date, November 28, 2021. Item, received the first interest repayment, changes in fortune. 1. Lin Chang's direction, the debt relationship, is officially established and begins to be fulfilled. The parasitic attribute starts to transform into a contractual attribute. The chaos/dependency, gray in his personal aura decreases by 5%. 2. Personal, received positive economic feedback. The belief that effort will be rewarded is strengthened, and the foundation of financial fortune increases by 5%. Note, a good start. Continue to monitor his compliance with the agreement. In early December, the company held its annual meeting. Due to my outstanding performance, I was named the annual outstanding manager and received a bonus of 30,000 yuan. As I accepted the award, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. President Wang personally presented the award to me, saying, "Manager Lin has proven that someone with a financial background can excel in sales. It all comes down to mindset and dedication." At that moment, as I looked out at the audience, I suddenly remembered my past life. At the previous year's annual party, I always sat in the corner, watching others receive awards. I felt I wasn't good enough, thought there were too many family matters, and had no energy to focus on my career. It turns out it wasn't that I couldn't, it was that I never allowed myself to shine. After the annual party, a few colleagues invited me to go singing. I rarely participated, had a couple of drinks, and felt slightly tipsy. In the taxi on the way home, I looked out the window at the dazzling streetlights and suddenly smiled, laughing and laughing. Tears streamed down, not sadness, but relief. 3 months into my rebirth, I have finally managed to steer my derailed life back on track, bit by bit, and all of this is just the beginning. My phone vibrated. A message from Lin Chang. "Sis, Xiaobao needs to sign up for the winter break class, 5,000. Mom asked me to check with you." I wiped away my tears and typed a reply. "Your own son, you take responsibility." Sent, and blocked tonight's message notifications. Outside the car window, the city lights were gentle. My new life. No more debts, no more grievances. There is only a ledger that grows thicker with each entry, and a path that grows wider with each step. The end of the year is always the busiest time for finance professionals. My schedule is packed. Year-end settlements, performance reviews, New Year budgets, client appreciation events. MBA classes are also nearing the end of the semester, with papers due. Busy, but as fulfilling as a sponge soaked with water. Sinking deep and taking root, Lin Chang's monthly interest of 562.5 yuan arrives as punctually as a clock's pendulum. It's not much, but it's regular. I accept it as it comes, without comment. In the ledger, the debt fulfillment rate, next to his name, gradually climbs from 10% to 30%. After my mother was discharged from the hospital, she kept a low profile for a while. Occasionally, when she called, her tone was cautious and probing, no longer carrying the same self-assuredness as before. Those gray currents of emotional blackmail had grown so faint they were almost invisible. Wang Meiwan fell completely silent. She no longer posted about her Audi or designer bags on social media, instead sharing inspirational quotes like, "Simplicity is true happiness," and "Contentment brings joy." But from Lin Chang's occasional complaints, I knew the couple was in a cold war, over money, their child's education, and their mutual disappointment in each other's lack of ambition. I feel like an outsider, observing from a safe distance as this family system, which once drained me, begins to crack after losing its primary source of support. 2 weeks before the Spring Festival, the company distributed the year-end bonus. My figure was quite impressive, a 6-digit sum after taxes. I didn't tell anyone. With this money, I did 3 things. First, I paid off the remaining mortgage on my apartment. The moment I held the property deed, now entirely in my name, I stood in the empty room for a long time, something I couldn't truly own even until death in my past life. This time, I held it firmly in my hands. Second, I enrolled in an expensive investment and financial management course. The instructor was a retired well-known fund manager from the country, and the classroom was filled with people who were either wealthy or influential, wearing my most appropriate suit and asking the most professional questions. I didn't show a hint of timidity among a group of middle-aged men and affluent ladies. Third, I went for a comprehensive physical checkup. I wanted to nip in the bud all the health issues that had accumulated from overwork in my previous life. The report came back with all indicators normal, but the doctor advised me to rest more and avoid too much stress. I smiled and agreed, knowing in my heart that the sources of my stress were being eliminated one by one. On the 23rd day of the 12th lunar month, Minor New Year, my father called, his tone hesitant. In a way I had never heard before. Vivi, are you coming back for the new year this year? In previous years, the spring festival had been a trial for me. Starting from the 28th day of the 12th lunar month, I had to return early to clean, shop, and prepare the New Year's Eve dinner. Wang Meiwan was a guest, only giving orders without lifting a finger. Lin Chong was a man, and didn't enter the kitchen. My mother was the elder, overseeing everything from her seat. I was like a spinning top, working until my back ached, only to hear them complain that the dishes were too salty or too bland, or grumble that the New Year goods I bought weren't upscale enough. When giving red envelopes, I always have to give the most, to my parents, to my younger brother and his wife, to my nephew. What they give me in return are a few light-hearted thank yous, and keep it up next year, Dad. I have a lot going on at the company this year, so I might not be able to come back, I said. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Your mom misses you, he said, his voice a bit hoarse. She hasn't fully recovered, and the doctor said she needs to be in good spirits. If you don't come back this New Year's, Dad, I interrupted him, I'm your daughter, not an emotional trash can, and certainly not a turtle in a wishing well. If Mom is in a bad mood, she should go to Lin Chong, her precious son. What can I do if I go back, besides doing chores and getting scolded? The words were harsh, but I had to say them. Another moment of silence. Then, what do you eat when you're alone outside? He changed the subject, clumsily expressing his concern. I'll take care of it. My tone softened. Dad, you should take care of yourself too. I transferred some money to your card. Buy yourself something nice to eat, and don't give it all to Lin Chong. After hanging up, I transferred 5,000 to him. It wasn't much, just a token of my affection as a daughter, but it certainly didn't exceed 1/10 of what I could afford. After that call, I had a feeling this spring festival wouldn't be very peaceful. Sure enough, on the 28th day of the 12th lunar month, Lin Chong showed up and blocked my way right outside my office building. He was wearing that old down jacket he'd had for years, his hair greasy, dark circles under his eyes. He really did look like he was having a hard time. The Audi parked by the roadside was spotlessly clean, forming an ironic contrast with his disheveled state. Sis, let's talk. He got straight to the point. I took him to the cafe next to the company. He ordered the cheapest latte and drank it quickly, as if to steel himself. Sis, it's the end of the year, he said, rubbing his hands together. A few creditors are pressing me. The car loan and mortgage are suffocating. Little Bao's school is asking for next semester's tuition, 12,000, and you know about Mom. Her medicine can't be stopped. I listened quietly without responding. I know I was a jerk before, and I'm sorry. He lifted his head, his eyes bloodshot. But sis, I'm really at the end of my rope. Could you lend me another 100,000? I have a project coming up in the spring, and I'm sure I can turn things around. I watched the aura above his head, gray strands of desperation and greed intertwined, with a faint trace of golden, wishful thinking. He was gambling, betting on my soft heart, betting that family ties could once again override reason. Jiangzi, I set down my coffee cup. Do you know how much I earn in a year now? He paused for a moment, then shook his head. You don't need to know either, I said. All you need to know is that every penny I have was earned through my own hard work. It didn't just fall from the sky. The 150,000 I lent you last year was my savings from 10 years of work. You could barely even pay the interest. And now you're asking for another 100,000. I'll pay it back, I swear. With what? I asked. With that big client who fell through, or this spring project that's still just a pipe dream. His face flushed red, but he couldn't speak. Did you sell the car? I continued to ask. Not selling the car, not cutting unnecessary expenses, not trying to increase income, just thinking about coming to me to fill the hole again and again. I laughed. Lin Chong, what do you take me for, your lifelong ATM? I didn't, he growled. I'm just going through a temporary rough patch. Can't you lend me a hand? I'm your own brother. I already did, I said calmly. 150,000, at a 4-5% annual interest rate, terms more favorable than any loan on the market. It was you who couldn't make good use of that money and instead added to your burden. Now, it's time for you to take responsibility yourself. He glared at me fiercely, his chest heaving. The gray currents surged violently, yet they couldn't penetrate the increasingly stable, pale golden aura surrounding me. Fine, fine. He suddenly stood up. Lin Wei, remember this day. If you have any problems in the future, don't come looking for me. I've never come looking for you. I looked up at him. Not in the past, and even less so in the future. He stormed out, Slamming the door behind him, I sat where I was, slowly finishing the rest of my coffee, bitter, but with a lingering sweetness. My phone vibrated. It was a notification from the banking app. Lin Chang's account had just made a 5,000 yuan payment, with the recipient being XX brand. Mahjong parlor. I took a screenshot and saved it in the evidence folder. Gambling. Just as I thought, in my previous life, I vaguely heard that he was involved in gambling, but I had no evidence. In this life, he delivered it right to me. I didn't confront him immediately. This card had to be played at the most critical moment. On New Year's Eve, I was alone in my apartment. I prepared 4 dishes and a soup, opened a bottle of red wine, and had the Spring Festival Gala playing on TV. Outside the window, fireworks were dazzling, and the cheerful laughter from the neighbors faintly drifted in. Lonely, a little, but compared to being an invisible servant in that lively home in my past life, I'd rather have this peaceful solitude. At 10 o'clock in the evening, my mom still called. The background noise is quite chaotic, with the sound of the TV, a child crying, and Wang Meijuan's sharp complaint. Mom, use less salt. Don't you know Qiangzi has high blood pressure? Wei, my mom's voice sounded utterly exhausted. Have you had the New Year's Eve dinner yet? Eaten, alone? The other end of the phone fell silent. I could almost picture the chaos over there. Wang Meijuan nitpicking the dishes, Lin Xiaobao throwing a tantrum for a phone to play with, Lin Chang probably drinking in silence, and my dad quietly smoking. That illusion of harmony and happiness I had desperately maintained quickly revealed its tattered foundation after I stepped away. Your brother came back this afternoon and threw a huge tantrum, my mother said cautiously. Did you two have a fight? He wanted money, and I didn't give it to him. 100,000 is indeed a bit much. She actually didn't scold me right away, but he's also having a hard time. Mom, I interrupted her. Everyone has their own difficulties, but who has ever asked about mine? She fell silent again. Mom, Happy New Year, I said proactively. Get some rest early. After hanging up the phone, I walked to the balcony. The midnight bell was about to ring, and the whole city was counting down. 10, 9, 8. I looked up at the night sky and suddenly remembered the old Taoist priest who said my luck had been drained. If he could see me now, what would he say? 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. Fireworks shot into the sky, illuminating the entire night. I closed my eyes and made a New Year's wish. May I completely sever all invisible chains. May my fortune flow only for myself. May those who have sucked my blood learn to walk on their own. On the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, I received an unexpected phone call. She is Wang Meijuan's older sister, Wang Meiling. We only met once at the wedding and barely spoke. Vivi, sorry to bother you, she said politely. There's something I wanted to ask you. Please go ahead. Meiwan cried to me, saying Lin Chang has gambling debts outside, and someone came to collect them. She lowered her voice. Do you know about this? A thought crossed my mind. I'm not too sure. Lin Chang and I rarely keep in touch. I just found out myself. I heard he owes over 100,000, and with interest piling up, it's almost 200,000 now. Wang Meiling sighed. Meiwan wants a divorce, but she can't bear to leave the child. She asked me to check with you about the money Lin Chang borrowed from you before. Could you give them some more time? They're really at the end of their rope now. So that's how it is. Lin Chang needed that 100,000 to plug the hole from his gambling debts. Sister Meiling, I said, the money was borrowed by Lin Chang, and the IOU was signed by him. Now that there's trouble within your family, it's something you need to work out among yourselves. I'm not obligated to pay for his mistakes. I know this is asking too much, she said, somewhat awkwardly, but for the sake of the child, precisely for the sake of the child, I cannot back down. I replied, if Lin Chang doesn't face the consequences of his actions, he'll never learn to take responsibility. In the future, he'll only cause even bigger problems, harming Meiwan and, worse still, the child. Wang Meiling fell silent, as if digesting my words. You're right, she sighed after a long pause. I was being foolish. Let's just pretend I never said anything about this. After hanging up the phone, I opened the ledger and updated Lin Chang's status. Date, February 3, 2022. Matter, confirmed Lin Chang's involvement in gambling and debt. Fortune change. 1. Lin Chang's direction. The decadence/speculation airflow is completely exposed and erupts. Intensity level 9. His personal aura is a turbid gray-black, with a collapse vortex appearing at its core. 2. Wang family direction. Wang Meijuan's resentful energy flow begins to shift toward Lin Chang, newborn. Intensity level 5. Her sister Wang Miling shows signs of clarity/distance, newborn pale silver energy flow, faint but distinct. 3. Personally. Maintain distance, not involved, financial claims are clear, unaffected by their personal debts. Note, gambling debts are a precursor to systemic collapse. It is essential to maintain financial boundaries and avoid any form of secondary borrowing or guarantees. After the start of spring, things began to deteriorate rapidly. In early March, Lin Chong's car loan became overdue, and the bank called me. I was the emergency contact. I replied directly, I am only the borrower's sister and have no financial guarantee responsibility. Please contact the borrower directly. At the same time, I contacted the lawyer I had previously consulted to ask how to protect my creditor's rights in this situation. The lawyer advised, if the other party is insolvent, you should apply for property preservation as soon as possible. That car of his, although it has depreciated, is still worth some money. I had the lawyer draft the documents. By mid-March, Lin Chong had completely lost contact. His phone was turned off, no one was at home, and even Wang Meiwan didn't know where he had gone. The people from the gambling debt side couldn't find him and started harassing my parents. The elderly couple were too scared to leave the house, and my mother's high blood pressure flared up again. This time, my father didn't come to find me. Instead, he directly reported it to the police. After the police intervened, the situation temporarily calmed down. However, the Audi under Lin Chong's name caught the attention of the creditors. In early April, I formally submitted a lawsuit application to the court, demanding that Lin Chong repay the principal and interest of the loan, and applied for property preservation to freeze the transfer of ownership of the vehicle under his name. On the day of the court hearing, Lin Chong finally showed up. He was so thin he looked like a different person, his eyes darting around. Unable to meet my gaze, the judge read out the IOU and the transfer records in court. The facts were clear, and the evidence was solid. Lin Chong had no defense. The court upheld all my claims, ruling that Lin Chong must repay the principal and interest totaling over 157,000 yuan within 15 days. If he fails to repay by the deadline, enforcement measures will be taken, including the auction of the vehicle under his name. As I walked out of the courtroom, Lin Chong caught up to me. Sis, are you really going to drive me to my death? His voice was hoarse. I'm teaching you to honor your contract, I said, looking at him. Sell the car, pay off the debt, and there'll be something left. Find a decent job and start over. But that's an Audi. I worked so hard to get it. That's not yours. I cut him off. It was bought with my money. Now, it's time to return it to its rightful owner. His eyes turned red, whether from regret or anger. You'll regret this, he said through gritted teeth. My biggest regret is having been too good to you before, I replied, turning to leave. A week later, the Court Enforcement Bureau contacted me, informing me that the Audi had already entered the auction process. Another 2 weeks passed. The car was sold for 138,000 yuan. After deducting the execution fee and my claim, a few thousand yuan remained, which was returned to Lin Chong as per regulations. In the ledger, I recorded the final entry, date, April 28, 2022, item, claim enforcement completed, changes in fortune. 1. Lin Chong's direction, the parasitic relationship was forcibly severed by law, that the superficial/vanity part of his aura dissipated as the vehicle was stripped away, leaving behind a gray and dim remainder, yet unusually heavy, forced to land. A new survival pressure, air current emerged, intensity level 8. 2. Myself, completed the first full financial settlement, received the full principal and interest. The beliefs in contractual spirit and legal weapon materialized, increasing financial fortune foundation by 15%. And aura stability broke through 50%. Note, the first stage has ended, the economic umbilical cord has been cut. Observe his subsequent survival strategies. With the car gone, Lin Chong seemed to have lost the last trace of his vitality. Wang Meiwan finally filed for divorce. I heard the terms were quite harsh. She wanted custody of the child, half ownership of the house. I contributed half of the down payment for that house back then, and she demanded that Lin Chong cover the child support. Lin Chong disagreed, and the two of them are now caught up in a dispute. My father has aged several more years, but this time he didn't ask me to help out. My mother no longer calls to cry and complain. She just occasionally forwards some health articles in the family group chat, staying silent as if she doesn't exist. As for me, on a weekend in late spring or early summer, I moved to a new place. The new apartment is in a better neighborhood, larger and brighter. I used my year-end bonus and the money I saved over the past 6 months to pay the down payment, and the loan amount is within my means. On moving day, the sunlight was beautiful. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of my new home, overlooking the scenery of half the city. On my phone, a notification from the bank came in. The money from selling the car had arrived. I opened the Book of Fortune and turned to the last page, where I wrote a summary. Phase 1, September 2021 to April 2022, Review 1, Economic Aspect. Successfully recovered a non-performing debt, completing asset protection. 2, Fortune Aspect. Severed the primary sustenance channel, with personal aura recovery exceeding 50%. 3, Family relationships. Complete the identity reconstruction from provider to clear boundary setter. Lessons learned. 1, A written contract is key. 2, The law is the final and most effective line of defense. 3, Emotional stability is the best protective shield. Next stage goals. 1, Consolidate career and increase income. 2, Observe the adaptive outcomes of the family system. 3, Build a new social support network. Closing the laptop, I poured myself a cup of tea. Outside the window, the plane trees are sprouting fresh green leaves, full of vitality. My new life, like this spring, has just begun, and those who once siphoned off my fortune are now paying a belated price for their past greed. The first volume of the ledger has been turned, but I know the story is far from over. After the car was auctioned, the Lin family fell into an eerie silence. The family WeChat group has completely died, with the last message being my mom's forwarded article. Eat these 3 things regularly to keep your blood vessels clear for life. From 3 months ago, no one has left the group, but no one speaks either. Like a forgotten digital tomb, I no longer reach out to them proactively. Every month, I transfer 1,000 yuan to my dad's card on time. Not much, but enough for the old couple to buy some groceries and meat. The note always has just 2 words, filial piety. My dad occasionally replies with, received, or, take care of yourself, nothing more. This is good. Distance creates beauty, and it also creates safety. My life, however, feels like it's been put on fast forward. The position of deputy sales manager became increasingly secure. I led the team to secure 2 major clients, and the performance report for the 3rd quarter was so impressive that Mr. Wang singled me out for praise at the senior management meeting. By the end of the year, my name appeared on the reserve cadre list. The MBA course has ended, and I have received my certificate. The knowledge I gained from the investment and finance class has been cautiously applied in practice. I used a portion of my savings to purchase index funds and a few well-researched stocks, achieving modest profits. The new apartment is arranged warmly and comfortably. I hired a part-time cleaner to tidy up weekly, freeing myself from household chores and dedicating all my time to work, study, and enjoying life. Yes, enjoyment. That word was too extravagant for my past self, but now, I've learned to go to the gym after work, visit exhibitions on weekends, and plan short trips with friends during holidays. Friends, this is also something new. Zhao Lin is my first new friend. She was a classmate I met in an investment course, running her own design studio, sharp and capable. Once, after class, we had coffee together and talked about family. I casually mentioned a few things. She slammed the table. Damn, it's exactly the same as my family. My brother is a total leech. Shared misery brought us closer quickly. Through Zhao Lin, I met several other women who were either independent entrepreneurs or had reached mid-level positions in large companies. We formed a loose circle, meeting irregularly to share industry information, vent about workplace frustrations, and occasionally discuss relationships. So, you're completely detached from your family now? Zhao Lin asked me during one dinner gathering. Financially, I only cover what's legally required, I said, cutting into my steak. Emotionally, I give nothing. They haven't caused any more trouble. I can't keep fighting anymore. I smiled, with the financial support gone and them realizing I won't fall for emotional blackmail. What else can I do but accept reality? Impressive. Another friend, a lawyer, raised her glass. So many people spend their whole lives unable to cut ties cleanly. I clinked my glass against hers without saying a word. It wasn't easy. Occasionally, waking up late at night, I'd think of my father carrying me on his back to see the Lantern Festival or my mother braiding my hair, and my heart would ache, but that warmth had long been drained by 2 decades of endless demands. The ledger records clearly, by the end of 2022, the money I had spent on the Lin family, with documented evidence, exceeded 800,000, while the intangible labor, emotional drain, and opportunity costs were immeasurable. What they owe me can never be repaid. During the 2023 Spring Festival, I went to Sanya. It was the first time I Didn't spend the so-called New Year at home, blue sea, clear sky, sandy beaches, and coconut groves, lying under a sunshade. I scrolled through my social media feed, seeing all sorts of New Year scenes, people showing off their reunion dinners, complaining about relatives pressuring them to get married, sharing stories of returning home. The Lin family made no move at all on the first day of the Lunar New Year. I received a call from an unfamiliar number. Hello, is this Ms. Lin Weiwei, a middle-aged man's voice asked. Yes, it is. Who is this? I am Director Wang from the XX neighborhood office. Your father, Lin Jiangwo. Is he your father? My heart tightened. Yes. What happened to him? Don't be nervous. He's fine, Director Wang said. It's just that the elderly couple is facing some difficulties in their daily life now, and they meet the assistance criteria for our community. We couldn't reach your brother, so we had to contact you. When would be a convenient time for you to come and learn more about the situation, difficulties, assistance? I changed my flight and returned that same day. At the neighborhood office, I saw my father, who looked utterly worn out. It had only been a little over a year since I last saw him, but his hair had turned completely white and his back was badly hunched. Dad, I called out to him. He looked up at me, his eyes clouded, taking a long moment to focus. Weiwei, you're back. Director Wang showed me the documents. My mother had suffered a stroke 6 months ago and was now partially paralyzed, requiring constant care. After Lin Chong's divorce, the house was awarded to Wang Meiwan, because it was proven that I had contributed to the down payment, and Lin Chong was at fault during the marriage. He moved back to his parents' home with the child. However, he didn't have a stable job, working sporadically and earning barely enough to support himself, let alone provide for the family. My father's meager pension had to cover my mother's medical expenses and the household's daily costs, and it was already stretched thin. The assistance the street office can provide is limited. Director Wang rubbed his hands together. Mainly, we can help you apply for subsistence allowances and some temporary relief, but in the long run, family members still need to share the burden. I looked at my dad. What about Lin Chong? He's sleeping in the room. My dad's voice was very low. He drank too much again last night. A surge of anger shot straight to the top of my head, but I held it back. Director Wang, regarding my mother's medical expenses, according to the law, children have the obligation to provide support, and Lin Chong and I should share the costs equally. I said calmly, could you please help me calculate the total amount spent from the time she fell ill until now, as well as the out-of-pocket portion after medical insurance reimbursement? I will not withhold a single cent of what I owe. Director Wang was taken aback for a moment, probably not expecting me to be so straightforward. All right, I'll have someone retrieve the medical records and bills. Furthermore, I continued, my father and Lin Chong's father are adults with full legal capacity. Their financial difficulties do not fall within the scope of my legal obligations. Of course, as a daughter, I am willing to provide appropriate assistance within my means, but this must be based on clear agreements, not a bottomless pit. My dad suddenly looked up at me, his expression complicated. Vivi, can't you just, Dad, I interrupted him, I can hire a caregiver to look after Mom, and I can cover half of her medical expenses, but Lin Chong must go out and work to support himself and his son. If he can't do that, I will suggest that the neighborhood committee assist in applying for legal aid to hold him accountable for abandonment and support obligations. The words were cold, but this was the only way to prevent this family from completely collapsing. In my past life, I was soft-hearted and took on everything, and what was the result? My mother's illness grew worse, because Lin Chong didn't take proper care of her. My father was worn down, and Lin Chong took it for granted to rely on his parents and sister. In the end, the whole family sank together. In this life, I will use rules to force them to stand up. Director Wang was very efficient and brought the bill in the afternoon. Over the past 6 months, my mother's out-of-pocket medical expenses amounted to 43,000 yuan. I immediately transferred 21,500 yuan to my father's account and had Director Wang witness it. This covers everything up to today. For future expenses, we'll settle them monthly, and I'll pay half. I said, I've already contacted a home service company for a caregiver. Someone will come for an interview tomorrow. I'll cover the first 3 months' expenses, after which Lin Chong must bear half. My dad held the phone, his hand trembling. Weiwei, thank you, you're welcome. I looked at him. Dad, you're getting old too. You should live a few days for yourself. Don't always think about covering for Lin Chong. You can't keep it up. After leaving the street office, I went to my parents' house. The old house I had lived in for over 20 years now carried a heavy smell of mold and medicine. The place was so messy you could hardly walk, with dirty clothes piled in the corner and takeout boxes left on the table. Unthrown, my mother lay on the bed in the inner room. When she saw me, her eyes flickered, her lips trembled, but she couldn't form a complete sentence. Half of her face was twisted, and drool trickled from the corner of her mouth. My heart ached, but I quickly hardened it. Lin Chong stumbled out from the next room, reeking of alcohol. He froze for a moment when he saw me. "Sis, how's the job search going?" I asked directly. "I'm still looking. Found anything yet?" He didn't say a word. "Lin Chong, your mother is lying here in bed, your father is exhausted, and your son needs to eat and go to school," I said word by word. "You are the only able-bodied man in this family. If you are still a man, you should shoulder the responsibility instead of hiding here drinking to escape." A flicker of shame and anger crossed his face. "You make it sound so easy. Jobs aren't that easy to come by. Delivering food, driving for ride-sharing, working as a security guard. What can't you do?" I retorted. "Are you afraid of losing face, or are you just too lazy?" I'll give you two options," I said, taking out my phone. "First, I can ask someone to find you a proper job, even if you have to start as an apprentice, but you have to stick with it. Second, if you still want to drift through life, I'll call the court right now and apply to change your son's custody. Staying with a father like you would only harm him." Lin Chong's eyes widened. "You wouldn't dare." "See if I dare." I looked straight at him. "Lin Chong, half of your life is already ruined, but Xiaobao still has a future. Do you want to be his role model, or the shame of his future?" These words broke him. He collapsed onto the worn-out sofa, buried his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking. I didn't comfort him. Some tears have to be shed until they run dry. Before leaving, I transferred 5,000 to my dad. "Hire a part-time cleaner to come twice a week. A clean home will help Mom feel better. Don't let Lin Chong know about this money." My dad nodded, his eyes reddening. Back home, I recorded this heavy day in my ledger. Date, February 15, 2023. Matter, Family Crisis Intervention. Changes in fortune. 1. Parental direction. Due to illness and poverty, the ability to demand has plummeted to rock bottom. The aura is bleak, but the original, parasitic vines have withered extensively. In the father's direction, a faint, transparent current of resignation/clarity has emerged anew. 2. Lin Chong's direction, forced to face reality. The escape shell is shattered, and the aura is extremely chaotic. Fear, shame, anger, and confusion intertwined. The survival instinct is triggered. A faint but sharp silver airflow emerges. 3. Personally, fulfill legal obligations and establish clear boundaries. Consumed some money and energy, but successfully avoided emotional involvement and taking on excessive responsibility. The stability of my aura was impacted, temporarily decreasing by 5%, but the foundation remains unshaken. Note, crisis intervention mode activated. Goal, prevent the entire family from sinking systematically and force Lin Chong to take responsibility. Stay vigilant to avoid being dragged down in reverse. In the following months, I acted like a cold taskmaster, calling my father every week to ask about the situation. Lin Chong finally went to work as an apprentice at a renovation company run by a friend of mine, earning 3,500 yuan a month. It was hard work, but stable. He started bringing money home, not much, but it was a start. A caregiver has been hired, the house is clean, and my mother's spirits have improved a bit. She can now say simple words. My father secretly told me, "Jiangzi seems like a different person when he comes home from work. He even knows to massage his mother's legs." "It's about time," I said. In May, my career reached a new peak. The company plans to expand into the East China market. Mr. Wang spoke with me, wanting to transfer me to Shanghai to serve as the newly appointed regional head. The pressure will be significant, and you'll need to be stationed there long-term, but the opportunities are also substantial. Mr. Wang looked at me. "Take some time to think it over." I didn't agree immediately. Instead, I spent a week conducting research, analyzing the market, the team, and the return on investment. In the end, my response was, "I'll go, but I want to bring 2 people with me, and I'll need a larger budget and greater personnel authority from headquarters." Mr. Wang smiled. "I knew you wouldn't take it on easily. The terms are negotiable." The negotiations went smoothly. In July, I was officially transferred to Shanghai, with a 60% salary increase, combined with performance bonuses. My annual income was heading straight for 7 figures. Before moving, I went back to my hometown. Lin Chong had grown darker and thinner, but his eyes no longer wandered. He was learning plumbing and electrical work, and calluses had formed on his hands. "Sis, I'm going to get my electrician's license," he said. "With the license, I can earn 6 or 7,000 a month. Study hard." I handed him an envelope. "There's 5,000 inside. Consider it a loan for your certification training. Write an IOU, pay it back in a year." He was taken aback for a moment, then took it and nodded. "Okay." This time, there was no complaining, no resentment. My dad walked me downstairs and hesitantly said, "Vivi, when you're out there, don't push yourself too hard, be careful, you're on your own." I know. I hugged this old man who had been timid all his life but ultimately chose clarity. "Dad, you take care too, call me if anything comes up, but regarding Lin Chong's matter, you have to let him handle it himself." All right. As the plane soared into the sky, I looked down at the gradually shrinking city below, feeling a deep sense of peace in my heart. Life in Shanghai moves at a different pace. It's fast, fiercely competitive, but also full of opportunities. I rented a high-end apartment in Pudong, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Huangpu River. The team was newly formed, full of drive but also experiencing the growing pains of adjustment. I worked over 12 hours a day, exhausted, but watching the numbers on the performance report climb steadily, the sense of accomplishment was real. Zhao Lin came to Shanghai on a business trip and invited me for a drink. At a bar on the Bund, gazing at the dazzling night view, she asked me, "Do you consider yourself successful now?" I thought for a moment. "I'd say I've gained a solid footing." "Do you regret it, being so ruthless back then?" "I have no regrets." I swirled my wine glass. "If I hadn't cut ties back then, I would be the one dragged down now." "How is your family doing now?" "My mom's condition is stable, and my dad has come to terms with things. Lin Chong is learning a trade and can support himself and his son now." I smiled. "See, without me as their blood bank, they didn't perish. Instead, they learned to walk on their own." "A cruel mercy." Zhao Lin raised her glass. "Necessary cruelty." I clinked glasses. In the autumn of 2023, I met someone. His name was Lu Jingming, 40 years old, and he was a co-founder of a tech company. We met at an industry summit where he was a speaker, and I was a questioner from the audience. My question was sharp, directly pointing out the risks in his business model. He paused for a moment, then smiled. "This lady has hit the nail on the head. Shall we discuss this in private later?" We did talk privately, moving from business models to industry trends, and then to each other's experiences. He was divorced, had no children, and was also a workaholic. We started dating. It wasn't frequent, but every conversation was deeply satisfying. He admired my intellect and sharpness, while I appreciated his vision and honesty. At the end of November, he walked me home. Standing outside my apartment building, he suddenly said, "Lin Weiwei, I think I might like you a little." The river breeze tousled his hair, and the streetlights reflected in his eyes, making them look very sincere. I didn't answer right away. "I need time," I said. "My past is a bit complicated, and I need to make sure I'm whole enough before starting a new relationship." "Okay," he nodded. "I'll wait for you." As I turned to leave, his back was straight and tall. I looked up and saw a warm, steady stream of pale golden energy above his head, which didn't seem to clash with the aura around me. Back home, I opened my ledger and wrote on a new page. Date, November 28, 2023. Event, new phase of life. Overall fortune status, 1. Personal level, career foundation is solid, with the golden portion of the aura accounting for over 70%. Financial situation is healthy, with annual income exceeding 7 figures. New possibilities have emerged in the emotional world. 2. At the family of origin level, the economic umbilical cord has been severed, and emotional dependence has been largely cut off. The parents are aging and ill but have been basically settled, forcing Lin Chong to grow up. The system has shifted from parasitism to difficult symbiosis. 3. Social relationships, establish a new support network based on value exchange and emotional resonance. Summary, Reborn for 2 years and 2 months, I have basically achieved the first stage goal, regaining sovereignty over my life. The fortune ledger has shifted from a record of defense to a log of growth. The harm is in the past, the scars remain, but they no longer ache. The future holds promise. Closing my laptop, I walk to the window. The Huangpu River is dotted with cruise ships, and the neon lights on the opposite shore shine brightly. This vast city embraces countless people like me, who have struggled, fought, and ultimately found their place. My phone vibrated with a WeChat photo from Lin Chong. He was dressed in work clothes, wearing a hard hat, standing at a construction site, holding a newly acquired electrician's certificate. Below the photo was a line of text: "Sis, I got the certificate, I'll pay you back next month." I stared at it for a long time before replying, "Congratulations, no rush." Then, I opened my contacts, found Lu Jingming's name, and sent a message: "Are you free this weekend? Let's have a meal together." "Soon," he replied. "Yes, you picked the place." I put down my phone and gazed out at the deep night sky. The stars were sparse, but each one shone steadfastly in its own orbit. Me too. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.